Welcome to Movie Expo, clapperboard. Today, we're diving into the most controversial movies from the 2000s onward, the ones that pushed boundaries, stirred up outrage, and came this close to being banned. Some were so provocative that entire countries hit the ban button, while others just barely escaped by making major cuts or sparking heated debates. So buckle up, because we've got 20 movies that shook the world, and trust me, when we get to number 13 and 17, you won't believe what went down. Let's jump into the most shocking, scandalous, and near-banned films of the 21st century. 1. The Human Centipede First Sequence 2009. Director, Tom Six. Reason for near ban: this film's premise is enough to make anyone queasy. A mad scientist kidnaps 3 people and surgically connects them in a grotesque human centipede. While it may have been marketed as a horror film, many saw it as pure exploitation. The disturbing body horror, explicit violence, and graphic content made the Human Centipede a lightning rod for controversy. Countries that banned it. The film was banned in several countries, including New Zealand, which called it objectionable due to its extreme content. In the UK, the film was released with an 18+ rating but still faced heavy criticism. Despite, or perhaps because of the backlash, The Human Centipede became a cult hit and spawned 2 sequels that were even more disturbing. 2. The Interview 2014. Directors, Seth Rogen, Evan Goldberg. Reason for near ban: what happens when you make a comedy about 2 journalists being recruited to assassinate a real-world dictator? Global controversy. The Interview took aim at North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, and North Korea did not take it lightly. They denounced the film as an act of war and demanded its cancellation. Things escalated when Sony Pictures became the target of a major cyberattack allegedly orchestrated by North Korean hackers, which resulted in leaked emails and confidential information. Actions taken. The situation got so intense that Sony initially cancelled the film's release after threats of violence surfaced. Theaters across the US pulled the movie from their schedules, and it was only after some time that The Interview was released through digital platforms. If there was ever a comedy that almost caused an international incident, this was it. 3. 50 Shades of Grey 2015. Director, Sam Taylor Johnson. Reason for near ban: when E.L. James's erotic novel was adapted into a film, people expected it to be steamy. But many countries thought the movie was a little too steamy, particularly in its depiction of BDSM bondage, discipline, dominance, submission, and sadomasochism. Critics slammed it for promoting unhealthy relationship dynamics and normalizing abusive behavior. Countries that banned it. Countries like Indonesia, Malaysia, and Kenya took swift action to ban the movie, claiming it was too explicit for public viewing. Even in places where it wasn't outright banned, it was heavily censored. In India, for example, the film was released only after significant cuts were made to tone down the more provocative scenes. Despite the controversy, 50 Shades of Grey became a box office hit. Talk about bad publicity being good publicity. 4. Deadpool 2016. Director, Tim Miller. Reason for near ban: superheroes are supposed to be role models, right? Well, Deadpool threw that idea out the window. With its R-rated humor, non-stop violence, and a whole lot of raunchy jokes, Deadpool quickly became a controversial figure in the superhero world. The Merc with a Mouth had audiences laughing and cringing at the same time, but not every country was ready for such an unfiltered superhero. Countries that banned it. China, known for its strict censorship laws, completely banned Deadpool for its excessive violence and vulgarity. Other countries like India and Japan allowed the film, but only after it went through a series of edits to tone down its content. Deadpool might have been a little too wild for some, but for fans of the genre, he was a breath of fresh air. 5. The Nun 2018. Director, Corin Hardy. Reason for near ban: mixing horror and religion is a tricky combination, and The Nun didn't hold back when it came to unsettling its audience. This spine-chilling flick takes place in a haunted convent and heavily relies on religious symbolism, which didn't sit well with certain religious groups. For some, the film's portrayal of a demonic nun was seen as disrespectful to the Catholic faith. Countries that banned it. Lebanon was the first to express concerns, banning the film for blasphemy. The country's religious authorities deemed the film offensive, and other conservative nations followed suit. Though it wasn't banned in most places, the nun certainly raised eyebrows and sparked debates on the line between horror and religious offense. 6. Joker 2019. Director, Todd Phillips. Reason for near ban. Joaquin Phoenix's disturbingly brilliant portrayal of the Joker had audiences both captivated and unnerved. The film, which explores the mental unraveling of Arthur Fleck as he transforms into the infamous villain, drew criticism for its violent and chaotic themes. Many feared the film would inspire real-world violence, especially in the wake of mass shootings in the US. Critics argued that the film glorified the Joker's violent actions, potentially influencing unstable individuals. Actions taken. Security was beefed up at theaters across the US during screenings, and some cities even warned residents to be cautious. In countries like the UK, there were calls to increase the age rating to limit younger audiences from seeing the film. Despite the fears, Joker went on to become a cultural phenomenon, but not without raising serious questions about the influence of media on society. 7. The Hunt 2020. Director, Craig Zobel. Reason for near ban. In a movie where wealthy elites literally hunt regular people for sport, you're bound to spark controversy. The film was a satirical take on America's political divide, but many felt it hit a little too close to home. The premise alone, where the rich prey on the poor, was enough to make people uncomfortable, but things got even more complicated when mass shootings occurred just before the movie's scheduled release. Actions taken. The studio behind the movie, Universal Pictures, pulled the plug on the film's release in 2019, citing concerns about the current political climate and sensitivity to violence. However, it was later released in 2020 with all its controversial themes intact. 8. The Da Vinci Code 2006. Director, Ron Howard. Reason for near ban. When you challenge the foundations of the Catholic Church in a thriller, you're bound to stir up some controversy. Based on Dan Brown's bestseller, The Da Vinci Code suggests that the Church has been covering up the true story of Jesus Christ for centuries, a conspiracy involving Mary Magdalene and the Holy Grail. Naturally, religious groups weren't thrilled about the film's message. Countries that banned it, several countries, including Egypt, Jordan, and Sri Lanka, were quick to ban the movie. In India, certain states refused to screen the film after protests from Christian communities. Meanwhile, the Vatican condemned the movie outright, calling it an attack on faith. Despite the uproar, the movie was a box office success, with audiences drawn in by the mystery and intrigue surrounding its controversial premise. 9. Avatar 2009. Director, James Cameron. Reason for near ban. James Cameron's Avatar is often remembered for its groundbreaking special effects and immersive 3D experience. But beneath the sci-fi spectacle, the film's themes of colonialism, environmental destruction, and corporate greed struck a chord with political regimes around the world. Specifically, China saw parallels between the film's plot and its own issues with forced land evictions. Countries that banned it. While the movie wasn't outright banned, China made the surprising decision to pull the 2D version of the film from theaters shortly after its release. The official reason was to make room for more locally produced films, but many speculated it was due to the movie's anti-authoritarian message, which may have resonated too much with local audiences. Still, Avatar went on to become the highest-grossing movie of all time, and we've still got the sequels to look forward to. 10. The Human Centipede 2 2011. Director, Tom Six. Reason for near ban. This is one of those movies that, even if you've heard about it, you probably wish you hadn't. The original Human Centipede was controversial enough, but the sequel dialed the shock factor up to 11. Filled with grotesque scenes of mutilation and torture, The Human Centipede 2 was labeled as obscene and disturbing beyond measure by critics and audiences alike. Its plot, which involved a man obsessed with recreating the horrors of the first film, was enough to turn stomachs and inspire global outrage. Countries that banned it. The UK's Film Classification Board initially refused to certify the movie, meaning it couldn't be legally distributed in Britain without significant edits. They demanded over 30 cuts be made, but even after the edits, it was still too much for many places. Australia, New Zealand, and even Germany, the film's setting either banned or heavily censored the film. In fact, New Zealand went so far as to declare the movie illegal, labeling it as an injurious to the public good. Yikes. 11. Blue is the warmest color. 2013. Director, Abdulatif Kechic. Reason for near ban. Hailed as a breakthrough in LGBT cinema for its raw and authentic portrayal of a passionate relationship between two women, Blue is the Warmest Color was equally as notorious for its explicit sex scenes. The film garnered critical acclaim, even winning the Palme d'Or at Cannes, but it also faced backlash for its graphic content and for what some deemed to be exploitative portrayals of intimacy. Countries that banned it: Tunisia banned the film due to its sexual content, and Russia restricted it to viewers 18 and older, citing its LGBT themes as inappropriate. Meanwhile, the film was heavily censored in countries like the United States and the UK, where debates about its suitability for mainstream audiences raged on. In some places, Blue is the Warmest Color is still seen as too provocative, but it remains an important entry in the history of queer cinema. 12. Noah. 2014. Director, Darren Aronofsky. Reason for near ban. A biblical epic directed by Darren Aronofsky sounds like a recipe for controversy, and Noah delivered exactly that. While the film took inspiration from the story of Noah's Ark, it strayed from a literal interpretation of the Bible, incorporating fantasy elements, environmental themes, and a rather grim portrayal of humanity's destruction. Religious groups across the world weren't pleased with Aronofsky's creative liberties, calling the movie disrespectful and a misrepresentation of sacred texts. Countries that banned it: Middle Eastern countries like Qatar, Bahrain, and the UAE were quick to ban Noah for blasphemy, arguing that it was inappropriate to depict prophets in film. Even in the US, where it was released without restrictions, there was significant backlash from Christian groups who felt the film distorted the biblical narrative. Despite the controversy, Noah grossed over $300 million worldwide, proving that sometimes, a little drama can be good for business. 13. The Passion of the Christ. 2004. This one will shock you. Astonished face. Director, Mel Gibson. Reason for near ban. Few films have been as divisive as Mel Gibson's The Passion of the Christ. The graphic depiction of Jesus Christ's crucifixion was both praised for its intensity and condemned for its extreme violence. But the real controversy came when accusations of anti-Semitism surfaced, with critics claiming the film portrayed Jewish people in a negative light. Religious groups clashed over the movie's portrayal of biblical events, while viewers were left stunned by the brutality on screen. Countries that banned it: while Israel notably banned the film, it faced heavy criticism and calls for censorship in many countries, including the US, where Jewish organizations voiced their concerns. Despite the backlash, The Passion of the Christ was a massive box office success, earning over $600 million worldwide. It remains one of the most talked about religious films ever made. 14. Mother. 2017. Director, Darren Aronofsky. Reason for near ban. Another Darren Aronofsky film, another firestorm of controversy. Mother is a psychological horror film that uses religious and environmental allegories to tell a story of destruction and chaos. The movie's abstract nature left many viewers confused, but the real controversy came from its unsettling violence and disturbing symbolism. Religious groups condemned the film for what they saw as blasphemous representations of biblical figures, while others simply found it too disturbing to enjoy. Countries that banned it: Lebanon was one of the first countries to ban the film for blasphemy, with some other Middle Eastern nations following suit. In the US and Europe, it wasn't banned but faced protests from religious groups. Whether you see it as a brilliant piece of art or a chaotic mess, Mother certainly didn't leave anyone indifferent. 15. The Wolf of Wall Street. 2013. Director, Martin Scorsese. Reason for near ban. Leonardo DiCaprio's portrayal of Jordan Belfort in The Wolf of Wall Street is a wild ride of excess, greed, and debauchery. It's a film that dives headfirst into the world of drugs, sex, and financial fraud, showing the darkest sides of Wall Street's high-flying culture. But that's exactly what made the film controversial, with critics arguing that it glorified the excesses of Belfort's life without condemning his actions enough. Countries that banned it: Malaysia and Kenya were quick to ban the film, citing its extreme sexual content, drug use, and profanity. In India, the film was heavily censored, with several scenes cut to make it suitable for audiences. Despite the controversy, the movie was a massive hit, and DiCaprio's performance earned him a nomination for an Academy Award. 16. It 2017. Director, Andy Muschietti. Reason for near ban. Stephen King's terrifying Pennywise the Clown returned to haunt a new generation of viewers in 2017's IT. While the film was a commercial and critical success, it sparked a fresh wave of clown panic across the world. Reports of creepy clown sightings surged after the movie's release, leading some parents and organizations to call for the film's removal from theaters, fearing it would incite copycat behavior. Countries that banned it. Russia considered banning the film, citing concerns over its disturbing content, though it ultimately allowed the movie to be shown with an 18+ rating. In the US, there were local calls for the film to be pulled from theaters due to the hysteria surrounding clown sightings, but the film continued its box office reign, becoming one of the highest-grossing horror films of all time. 17. Suicide Squad 2016. Get ready for this shocker. High Voltage. Director, David Ayer. Reason for near ban. Anti-heroes, chaotic violence, and a dark tone define Suicide Squad, which aimed to showcase the darker side of the superhero genre. But for some countries, the film went too far with its depiction of criminal behavior and lawlessness. With characters like Harley Quinn and the Joker stealing the spotlight, the film's edgy tone was seen as too dangerous for younger viewers, and the violence was deemed excessive for a superhero flick. Countries that banned it. China refused to release Suicide Squad, citing concerns over its portrayal of evil characters and its potential to promote negative behavior. Other countries, including Japan and the UAE, demanded cuts to reduce the film's violent and dark content. Despite the controversy, Suicide Squad was a commercial success and gained a massive fan following for its rebellious style. 18. A Serbian film 2010. Director, Srđan Spasojevic. Reason for near ban. Widely regarded as one of the most disturbing films ever made, a Serbian film is notorious for its extreme violence, sexual content, and brutal imagery. The film's plot revolves around a retired porn star who is coerced into making a snuff film, and the results are deeply horrifying. The sheer brutality of the movie has made it a target for censors worldwide, with critics accusing it of being little more than shock value masquerading as art. Countries that banned it. A Serbian film has been banned in multiple countries, including Spain, Australia, New Zealand, and Norway. Even in countries where it wasn't outright banned, like the UK, the film was heavily censored, with entire scenes cut to make it legal for distribution. Despite this, it remains a cult film for horror fans who are curious about just how far a movie can go. 19. The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo 2011. Director, David Fincher. Reason for near ban. Based on the best-selling novel by Stieg Larsson, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo is a gripping crime thriller filled with dark themes, including sexual violence, revenge, and corruption. While the film was praised for its intense performances, particularly from Rooney Mara as the iconic Lisbeth Salander, the brutal nature of certain scenes proved too much for some audiences. Countries that banned it. India banned the film outright due to its explicit depictions of sexual violence, while countries like the UAE and Malaysia required significant cuts before allowing it to be screened. In some regions, the film was slapped, with higher age ratings to prevent younger audiences from being exposed to its intense themes. Despite the controversy, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo was a critical and commercial success, praised for its unflinching portrayal of its dark source material. 20. Cuties 2020. Director, Maimouna Dukawa. Reason for near ban. Few films have stirred up as much debate in recent years as Cuties. The French film follows an 11-year-old girl who joins a dance group, and while it was intended to critique the hypersexualization of young girls, many viewers felt it was guilty of the very thing it sought to condemn. The marketing for the film, particularly a poster that depicted the young dancers in provocative poses, fueled outrage and led to calls for boycotts. Countries that banned it. Turkey was one of the first countries to ban Cuties, while in the US, conservative groups petitioned to have the film removed from Netflix. Even some politicians got involved, accusing the film of promoting the exploitation of minors. Though the film's director defended the movie's intentions, the controversy overshadowed the film's release, turning it into a lightning rod for debates about the portrayal of children in media. Wrapping up, and there you have it, 20 movies that pushed the envelope so far they nearly got banned. Some films sparked global outrage, others faced legal action, but all of them made their mark on cinema history by challenging the status quo. From comedies that mocked world leaders to horror films that haunted the real world, these movies dared to go where others wouldn't. Oh, and if number 13 and 17 didn't leave you shocked, you might need to check your pulse. Seriously, who knew that a religious epic and a superhero flick could stir up so much controversy, right? Fire. Thank you so much for tuning in to Movie Expo. If you enjoyed this trip through the wild world of almost banned movies, make sure to follow us for more amazing content. There's so much more where this came from, and trust me, you won't want to miss what's next. Until next time, stay controversial. Movie Camera.